up to the 30, the 20, 10, 5, Torrey Horton back to the end zone.
48-yard play. Guess who? Body up the middle, making another move to the outside. 15, 10, end zone again.
Keeps it. Nice move by Brown. He's got space. He's got 6. 35-yard touchdown for Byron Brown. A record-setting night for the South Florida quarterback.
Down so far, a little bit of a high snap. Genty right up the middle. Genty has room. Ashton Genty, give him 6.
Second and long. Lagar tries to fit it in. Ramos, it does. Ramos stays up. The Suns offense 4-3 wins. Incredible effort for Ramos.
The G5 Hive. All G5, all the time.
Welcome to the G5 Hive Live. College football is back, baby, and we are excited to bring you G5 college football coverage that you love each and every week. I am Luke, and I am joined by my co-host, Justice.
What's going on, man? A lot to be excited for this week. We got to whet our college football appetite. We had some appetizers, if you will, 4 games yesterday. 3 of those involved G5 teams, and then this week we get a full buffet this week, baby. We got games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, as far as G5 games, and then we got other games I think on Sunday and Monday as well. So yeah, 4 days of college football. So yeah, full buffet, 4 smorgasbord.
All right, so yeah, this has been a exciting week. This week on Thursday, August 27th, we will hit our 1-year anniversary from our first ever show. It's been a fun and exciting year so far. That Worker Bee series is great to wrap up. It was a lot of work, but I think you guys all enjoyed it. We have been growing like crazy with followers on X and YouTube subscribers, and we are looking forward to seeing growth here in year 2. We are so very, very close to hitting 400 subscribers by week 1. We're currently sitting at 397. With that being said, if you are watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're watching us on X, please give us a follow, a like, a retweet. And if this is something you're listening to us in podcast form, please rate and review.
All right. Well, let's move over to our week 0 in review. What you got for us, Luke?
So we had Montana State versus New Mexico. This was our first look at the new look Lobos, Bronco Mendenhall, and our boy, Devin Dampier. He looked pretty good. Maybe not as mobile as we maybe thought. We could see him out running a little bit more than he was. But, yeah, what were your takeaways, Justice?
Yeah, I mean, like, he looked good when he ran the ball. He only ran the ball 3 times. He definitely wasn't like you could tell, like, whenever he got pressured, he was keeping his eyes down the field, right? He was trying to make plays passing and not necessarily just take off running. Would have liked to seen him take off running a couple more times than he did. Don't know if that's a coaching staff thing. Don't know if they're not maybe they're not 100% with the depth behind him at quarterback, and so they don't want him running as much. You don't know. Maybe Dampier just said, hey, I want to prove to folks that I can do it with my arm. And so he didn't take off running. All those kind of things we don't know. But man, when he did take off running, he looked really, really good. There was the touchdown run where he faked everybody out, right? Like it was pretty awesome. I don't know if you got a chance to see that, Luke, or if you didn't, go look for the highlights, man. But I mean, he faked everybody out on that play. He kept the ball, hid the ball from the defense. The defense are all following. I think it was Eli Sanders, and he just runs 20-some yards into the end zone, and like no one was even close to him. No one came close to him. It was pretty awesome. The other big takeaway,
that was a really windy game too. If I remember, like maybe third quarter or fourth quarter, they're like really showing the wind speeds or whatnot. So yeah, any of those throws, I don't know what the wind speed was throughout the game, but if that was the same wind throughout the entire game, that's pretty impressive. Because Luke Wysong had a pretty big game too.
Yeah, that was the other thing that kind of stuck out to me. So Caleb Medford, I don't think he got the start, but he did play. I don't know if there was some kind of like disciplinary issue why he didn't start. But yeah, the kind of the big takeaway from me was Luke Weissong looked really, really good in that game. He's playing in the slot. There's concerns. There was concerns about the offensive line there for New Mexico. And if you got your offensive line concerns, then you're looking to get the ball fast out of Dampier's hand. Weissong would kind of be that guy that I think that's where kind of that would happen, or one of the running backs. And so we saw Weissong. I think he had like 8 targets and 7 catches yesterday for something like 95 yards and a touchdown. So a really good game from Luke Weissong. And then Trace Bruckler, the tight end, also had a pretty nice game. I think he had like 4 targets, 3 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown, something like that. As Brett points out in the chat, probably the big concern with New Mexico is their upcoming schedule. They play Arizona, then have a bye, and then Auburn. And so those are going to be that's 3 kind of rough weeks there for New Mexico. But really what you're looking for is conference play, right? And so I feel like the offensive line surprised me, right? Montana State is a pretty good FCS team. They're one of the top teams in the FCS, and I thought that offensive line played fairly well for New Mexico. And so I don't know that anybody in terms of a defense on the Mountain West is going to be heads and shoulders above Montana State. Obviously, they're going to be a little bit better, but it's not they're going out and playing Alabama every week or Georgia every week for that matter. And so I was encouraged by what I saw from that New Mexico offensive line. And New Mexico as a whole played better than I expected. They had that game, that the lead going late into that game. They kind of fell apart there at the end, but man, I mean, just as a whole, I was just really impressed with them. My expectations weren't super high in terms of the overall team going into week 0, but I walked away much more impressed with New Mexico than I originally was.
Then we had a G5 versus P5 matchup. SMU, yeah, I mean, sounds weird, but in the ACC now versus Nevada. How will Nevada look under new head coach Jeff Choate? Who starts at quarterback for SMU? We saw Stone in there, then Jennings came in, and then Stone came back in. Honestly, Nevada looked a lot better all around than I thought they would. I mean, granted, end of the game stats don't look good, but I stopped watching. I had to go down to my dad's for his birthday. It was with kids. I got to watch most of the first quarter of that game, right towards, I think there was like a punt block or something towards the end of the first quarter that had Nevada down there deep into SMU territory, where it was like, I thought there would be a lot more scoring in that first quarter of the game just in general. So that first quarter was very promising there for Nevada. I can't speak for the rest of the game because I was not able to watch it. So, Justice, what do you think?
Yeah, again, kind of like New Mexico, I came away impressed with Nevada. Right, they lost the game ultimately, but again, they were winning the game up until near the end. And I had zero expectations for Nevada. I thought they weren't going to be a great team this year. A lot of turnover, new coaching staff, etc. And they looked pretty good. Brendan Lewis got the start. He
Leading rusher.
He played pretty good for Brendan Lewis, especially in the passing department. Like, I don't know that I've ever seen him, pass as well ever as he did yesterday. Cortez Braham Jr., transfer from West Virginia, wide receiver, looked really good. My concern, I guess, with him is if Lewis is the starting quarterback all year. As you mentioned last week, Chuba Purdy is battling an injury, and so who knows when that's going to get when he'll be recovered from that, and if they'll make a change. But having Brendan Lewis there at quarterback would concern me for Cortez Braham Jr. From a weekly standpoint in terms of production, I just don't know that Brendan Lewis is going to look as good as he did yesterday every week. Hope he does. But we haven't necessarily seen that in the past. But yeah, just really impressed with Nevada. They played the defense played pretty good. Other than not being able to cover RJ Maryland, that was kind of like the big thing I noticed. Like, man, like RJ Maryland would be like wide open at times, and like he's probably their best receiving option. Receiver, he's a tight end, but he's probably the best receiving option on that SMU team. And man, like how he got so wide open those couple times, I was like, oh my God, like no one was on him. And so that part wasn't so great for the Nevada defense. But other than their coverage on RJ Maryland, I thought they played pretty well. And again, just super encouraged by Nevada. I thought they'd get blown out in this game, and they certainly didn't. And man,
Yeah,
if I'm
it was
an SM,
like spread was what, 40, 44, something crazy.
I don't
like
know,
that,
was it
right?
that high in that? I know it was that high in
38?
the Hawaii game. I think it was
Maybe it was 38 or something like that. It was high.
Man, if I'm an SMU fan, I'm worried, right? I'm concerned because you're going into the ACC and you, by all rights, you probably should have lost the game against Nevada. And so again, it's week 1, week 0. So maybe we shouldn't draw too many conclusions from what happened. It's, they're getting the jitters out, getting the bugs out, all that sort of thing. At the end of the day, they won the game. But man, SMU did not look good in week 0. And
Clint says
yeah,
it was 28.
still it was a lot. Yeah, man, it was a high spread. And I think last week we both said I don't see how Nevada covers this, but hey, they not only did they cover, they also almost won the game, and maybe should have won the game, right? It didn't work out for Nevada, but yeah, if you're a Nevada fan, you got to be excited by what Jeff Choate has done there in a very short period of time.
All right, and then we had Delaware State versus Hawaii. We were excited to see the improvements for the Hawaii run and shoot offense under Timmy Chang. How does that O-line look? Are they able to get the running game going? Who steps up alongside Ashlock? Well, it really just seemed to be the Ashlock show. I think he had 10 targets, 5 or 6 receptions, almost had a touchdown. Wind kind of knocked one down. They had tropical thunder. They had a tropical storm in the area, so that that played into it. Honestly, Schrager didn't have like that great of a game. And then if you're looking at a fantasy football standpoint, he still had like 31 points, depending if you had 4 or 6 point passing touchdown leagues. So hey, that did not look good at points. Again, that ran into 2 something in the morning. I woke up with it on my phone. I just fell asleep. So I don't exactly know when I fell asleep. I was having problems with my app getting it to work, and then I got it to working, and then all of a sudden I'm waking up at 4, just in my phone, something going on to a news station in Hawaii. So it didn't seem super promising. Had a punt return for a touchdown. Hines got into the end zone there, but it looked like Ashlock, and I am kind of curious on how McBride's not playing, but we had what's his name? Trying to think of the guy who ran the second most routes.
Oh, Alex Perry.
Alex Perry ran the second most routes, and then they had the West Virginia or Kansas?
DeKel Crowdis from
Kentucky transfer that he had a fair amount of targets, and so but he kind of lined up as on the far side, away from everybody else. It seemed like they had 3 wide receivers on one side and him on the other side, so that almost kind of seems like that could be the McBride. I'm gonna be right back. My daughter's yelling for something.
So yeah, I like Brett said, I watched every play of that game. And I'll give you guys a tip. If you don't know, you can watch the Hawaii games too. If you have, I know on an Android phone as well as a Fire Stick, you can install an app called Team One Sports. Team, the number one sports. That's how I watched the game last night on my Fire Stick. They usually have all those Hawaii games. It'll say pay-per-view, but the pay-per-view is only for Hawaii residents. It's not for everybody else. And so, yeah, the Team One Sports app, that's the way to watch those Hawaii games. So if you have a Fire Stick, I assume it's available on Apple devices too as well. I just don't know that 100%. But yeah, you can watch it on Android phone as well. So that's how I watched the game. But yeah, I watched every play of the game. I was up till I think it was like 3:15 Eastern, 3:15 this morning, watching that game. The kind of my takeaways was, Shager didn't look great in terms of passing, but I felt like the receivers didn't do him any favors. They had so many drop passes. Alex Perry had a drop pass. Crowdis had a couple. Tematoa Mokiao Atamala had a couple of drop passes, and so they just didn't really do him a lot of favors in terms of catching all those balls. The weather was crazy, man. It was raining. The wind gusts, they were like 50 miles an hour. There was a long, deep pass to Ashlock. Ashlock was wide open in the end zone, in the corner of the end zone, and like if you saw that, you could see that like the wind killed that ball. Ashlock had to come out of the end zone, fall down to his knees, end up catching the ball at the 1 yard line, and then Shager ran it in from the 1. But that just kind of showed you like how dramatic the wind was there. And they talked about it all night, affecting the kicking game, the punting game. So while Shager didn't necessarily look what I would consider great from an actual football perspective, I'm willing to give him a little bit of a pass, right? The weather wasn't great. He did show a willingness to run the ball more than what we've seen in the past. He took off quite a few times with the ball and ran. He ran in for that 1 yard touchdown, and then he ran in for, I don't know, I feel like a 14, 13, something like that yard touchdown. Like Brett said, he did have some design runs in the game. So that was kind of a new wrinkle that we're not used to seeing. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna, knock Shager too much for his game last night. Now, like looking at the receivers, Alex Perry ran the second most routes or played the second most snaps, but like from my perspective and watching that game, like Dekel Crowdis looks like to me like he's gonna be that number 2 guy. A lot of folks might talk about Tamatoa Moliaka Adamala, but he only ran 12 routes last night, caught 5 balls. Maybe he'll get more. Maybe he'll get more work here in the future. But to me, if I'm looking like who's going to be that number 2 guy behind Pafeli Ashlock, I really think it's going to be Dekel Crowdis. One thing I want to see from this Hawaii team, we saw it last night on special teams, Tylan Hines. Man, the dude is electric with the ball in his hands, right? He had several good returns. He returned 1 punt for a touchdown. And like, I don't understand why they don't get him in the slot, play him out of that slot and throw him some balls in space, man. Like that just seems so obvious to me. And I don't understand why they don't do it.
Man, we were so excited that, he was going to run out of the slot last year and maybe, just get, like you said, get the ball in space and let him do his thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Like we saw it last night, and maybe we'll see it here this weekend with UCLA. But man, like it's just so obvious. Like he's like one of your best guys in space on the entire team. They talked about it time after time again on the broadcast last night. And so, like to me, like you just put the kid in the slot and you give him those short passes and let him do his thing, right? I don't quite understand why they don't do that. It just seems so obvious. So there's got to be a reason. Don't know what that reason is, but man, like Timmy Chang, if you're watching our show, put Tylan Hines in the slot, get the man some balls, and let him work his magic. But
all right, well, I think
this was a big spread too, and it didn't come close to panning out for Hawaii. Delaware State did have some troubles getting to the game. Right, they had their bus team bus was late, caused them to miss their flight, and they talked about on the broadcast as well. And I think they had to take like 3 or 4 different flights. The team as a whole before they all made it over there, and but they hung with Hawaii for a good part of the game. I think they're just not a strong passing team. Didn't necessarily need to be last night. But Delaware State made a good showing. One other thing, we haven't talked about yet, and that's the running game. We wanted to see if they could get that running game going. Well, it looks like Landon Sims is going to be that guy, right? Possibly. And the interesting thing about Landon Sims is, from a fantasy football perspective, he's got tight end eligibility.
Tight end.
So,
yep.
Yeah, if he's gonna be this
starting
starting running back, and you can play him at tight end, that might have some little bit of a sneaky little cheat code there, Konami code, if you will, there for Landon Sims.
Well, Taysom Hill for you.
Yeah, exactly. Some Taysom Hill. But yeah, they definitely have, and they have a step up in competition this week. We'll talk about it here in our week 1 preview. But they get UCLA coming to town, and so a little bit of a step up in competition. So they have to play much better against UCLA than they did against Delaware State. That's for sure.
So I got a question for you, Justice, before we move on here to our week 1 previews. Crowdus. Again, I got to watch some of the game. I didn't get to watch all of them or all of the game, but production-wise, he was second on the team. Fantasy football-wise, people are, wondering who do I need, from this offense? Usually you want somebody, and is somebody going to be a 1-for-1 replacement for McBride? I mentioned how Crowdus was out wide all by himself. Kind of seemed like he was going to be, maybe that guy that takes it for McBride, and then listen to you here at the end, caught the end after I figured out what was going up there. Sounds like, you're also on the Crowdus wagon here. Is it a watch list guy? Is it a, hey, let's just go get him now? Part of me is like, league, I could do either.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a super big league, like a really deep league, I'd say 16 or more teams, 50-man rosters. I'm probably going to take a shot on Crowdus. A normal 12-man league, probably not. It's probably going to be on my watch list. Or if you're obviously in a Mountain West only league, or things like that, where the pool is limited, absolutely you're going to take a shot on Crowdus. But in your normal 12-team all FBS league, I'm probably kind of keeping him as a watch list type of guy. But just based on what I saw last night, it really looks like he is the guy that if someone's going to step up and kind of take over for where McBride left off, based on last night and what I saw, I think he kind of would be that guy.
But yeah, I mean, the only thing that I feel like you can really expect to see is Ashlock being that main guy there as of now.
Shager looked to Crowdus a lot, in my opinion. Had a couple of deep shots to him. He just missed them. And so Crowdus could have it would have been if Crowdus made a couple more catches or Shager was a little bit more accurate with some of those deep balls, Crowdus would have had a much better stat line, and the conversation might be a lot different. And so those are the kind of things that stood out to me last night.
All right, that does it for our rundown. Wow, we are excited for week 1. We love your comments through Twitter, through YouTube, because Justice and I, we're the top, we're the pretty faces that you guys are hearing. Yeah. That's what it is. But honestly, your guys' comments help make the show. You guys are just just as much a part of the show as we are. We got 117 people watching us on X Live. We want these comments. We want to interact. We want you guys to feel like you're just as much of the show as we are. But we want, come back and join us next week as we discuss what's happened in week 1, as well as look forward to week 2 of the 2024 season, and as well bring you up to date with all of the latest news and all the happenings in the world of G5 college football. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're watching us on X, please give us a retweet, like, and a follow. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please subscribe and leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. Thank you all for your support. And until the next time, we are the G5 Hive.